Hello, everybody. Welcome to our artist talk. We've already talked to Creator Collective before. If you've heard our last artist talk that got posted on Friday, yes,
Friday, yeah.
I believe. But today we have Fractilians and Mark. So I believe we have both the creators. Is that good? Is that safe to say? You both of you are the creators of the whole
Yeah,
Creator
yeah, we're
Collective.
co-founders. Yeah.
I would
S-
say
We
so, yeah.
So we have the co-founders today, Mark and Fractilians. Fractilians had already introduced herself, but um, they'll do it again anyways, cause you gotta know who they are. But I'll give it to you guys to introduce yourself and let the listeners know who you are.
You can go first, Mark.
Sure. My name is Mark, and I am a musician, an artist, a community builder. I'm also involved in different DAOs in the space, mainly Wearable Protocol DAO and Songcamp. Yeah, that's it for me.
And I'm Natalie, and I also came in the space as an artist and still do art, trying to learn a lot of stuff, and working with on Creator Collective, and it's a community-focused collective that helps inform artists of new projects and opportunities within the NFT ecosystem.
That's that's cool to hear. I didn't Mark. I didn't know you were a musician as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
man. I have been for about like a decade.
oh,
Um, yeah, I've been doing it full time. And then when the whole pandemic hit, of course, I think this might be relatable to people who do music full time.
mm,
There's a lack of shows. There's a lack of like, I guess, income to sustain yourself, and so I think that sort of brought me into
mm.
considering contributing to crypto projects, and that led me down the rabbit hole of NFTs, DAOs, DeFi, everything else.
Well, that's actually very cool because I wanted to ask, right? Because I was actually sitting and thinking about my talk with Fractilians the other time, and now that I know that you're a musician, essentially, like to those listening, we have um, and did you say you're an artist as well? Like
Correct.
yes, and so we have essentially like a well-rounded sort of group, right? Like Fractilians does digital art and has not like screen printing education, but also the educational factor, and then you have the music factor on that. And so, how'd you guys meet? Because usually we like musicians are known with artists, but usually musicians like will stay with their musicians, and artists will stay with themselves, and like the digital artists will stay with their little group. So how'd you guys like meet and come up with the idea for Creator Collective?
Natalie, do you want to
Okay.
take this one?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think that far long ago, 4.5 months ago. Okay, let's see.
It's like a
Oh yeah, I
decade.
know in the
I
space
know it
that's like
feels like
a
it's been
century.
15 years. Like, I believe wasn't it when I was doing like a little community call announcement about the Earth Day NFT campaign, and then you came on wanting to help. Was that correct, Mark?
That's
Okay.
right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then with Eric from Rarible Protocol DAO as well. He had a lot of influence in us creating the Creator Collective as well. So he helped us out with that as well.
Eric,
Yeah.
Eric the variable. Is he the dude on Twitter with the it was like his face and then just a yellow background? Or am I
No,
thinking
I
of
think
like the
that's
create?
Alex.
Oh yes,
That's
okay,
Alex.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I was gonna
thinking of
say
the
that's
wrong.
probably Alex.
I haven't been on Rarible like so I've checked Rarible a little bit more because of since Fractilians told me that they have lazy minting, which to the listeners they have lazy minting now. So go participate in the competition because you don't have to pay for gas fees no more, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, and so that's actually cool to know. And so, um, well, you mentioned DAOs, and I had asked Fractilians last time, like, what's a DAO, and both of us sort of had like an
I told him like
well.
Mr. Mark is like the guy. He's the guy I ask all my questions to, and I've been learning a lot about
and uh,
DAOs from Mark.
and my main concern as an artist, right, is is to understand, or at least to try to fully understand what DAOs are, right? Because um, artists in the fine art world have been getting screwed within their fine art communities and galleries, right? And so DAOs have evolved as this thing that solves that sort of um, shady deals that happen between corporations and stuff. And so, do you mind explaining like what the Creator Collective DAO or what's going on with the DAO that you guys are building or
Yeah.
running?
No, for sure. Yeah. Maybe to step back a little bit. Like,
Mm.
what are DAOs?
Mm.
I'm pretty sure some of your audience might be familiar already, but to those who aren't,
Mm.
DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization.
Mm.
I think the most TLDR definition of it would be a chat group with a bank account. Um,
Okay.
and so, and so, I think this would be or can be compared to, say, a digital version of a cooperative or an artist commune,
Okay.
or like it's headless, it's decentralized. There are
Mm.
no leaders, um, and so this organization has a pool of resources. It could either be NFTs, or tokens or Ethereum, and then collectively everyone participates and decides on what projects to pursue, what NFTs to bid, what apps to build,
Mm.
etc., etc. And so it's a new form of organization, something that is digital and crypto native. And I'm pretty sure some of your audiences are already part of different DAOs. But yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. But the DAO that Natalie and I are both a part of is Wearable Protocol DAO. So if you think of
Mm.
wearable.com, the marketplace, there is an operating system underneath it. Think of it as, say, a Windows or a Mac OS,
Mm.
and that is called Wearable Protocol. It's a set of code. When this happens, this happens. It's essentially just like a program, sitting on the blockchain. And our DAO towards that development and lets other app builders create on top of it. And so, and within this DAO, um, we fund so many projects, and one of them is Creator Collective, where the whole point of forming Creator Collective is to actually help artists
Mm.
to onboard them. If they are not crypto native, at least have some educational resources for them.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what it is so far. I'll pause here, and yeah, feel free to add, Natalie.
Yeah, I mean, you said it so clearly. I'm like, you actually clarified a lot of things for me because a lot of times, when you're too close, you miss some of the bigger picture, and when you're too far out, you miss like the nitty gritty, if that makes sense. So, no, very well said, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely like we're hoping with Creator Collective to do a variety of things, and since we're very new, we're kind of learning by each project that we do. We're kind of trying to we create these proposals, which is what we put in up on um, what is it, the discussion then snapshot to get voted, and
Correct.
then and yet each time we kind of like, I at least this has been my experience, we learned so much. I mean, like, every week in the crypto world, it's just like it feels like a year's gone by. So yeah, we're always like growing as a collective, and yeah, if any of you in the community want to help out, please come. We welcome you guys to come join us on our Discord and also enter the competition that we're doing right now. But yeah, especially with like back to that question, the onboarding and of people just into the space, I think is really important. And yeah.
To me, I think onboarding is a is a good sort of, I don't know if it's a problem that's in this. Well, it is a problem. More artists need to onboard into the space, but also the boost by having this sort of creator collective that's oriented towards artists. Um, you guys are also inadvertently like solving the issue of artist discoverability on websites like Rarible, and who knows, maybe you guys might expand beyond that into other websites, right? Because funny enough, I on today I was, because of the punk sale, and to the listeners who haven't heard about the news, Visa bought a CryptoPunk, and the CryptoPunk bot ensued to tweet every 20 seconds a $200,000 sale after that.
Crazy.
It was wild. I was like sitting there like, holy shit, what the fuck. And then it was great to
Wow.
see Robness and like a bunch of people like essentially called out like the hilarious hypocrisy of people celebrating the organization that just banned a bunch of sex workers from making money, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah,
and then just
I saw
come.
that.
It's like coming into the decentralized bit. Like, bless. I think it was Crypto Cobain who said that, and I was sitting there. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's great, but because of that, I've been like on OpenSea and Rarible a lot, just checking. Because usually when news like that happens, sales sort of translates to derivative projects, because people like either FOMO into projects that they think they're gonna get. But the weirdest thing is I clicked on OpenSea's and Rarible's like little art thing and didn't see a lot of art. Like they're what is it, the way I think it, I imagine it's because of just the amount of NFTs being minted per second on these websites now. But it's like I on OpenSea I clicked on it and the first like three posts or like the first three NFTs were pictures of this dude's meat, like his
Ooh.
actual like steak. He's like, yeah, steak, and then like one picture of like a pot of stew, and I just sat there. I was like,
Oh.
what the like that's not like I get it. It's a picture, right? And so
Yeah.
there's like this real problem in the space where the established artists have their sales and they're able to be recognized because they're established, but the young and upcoming artists are essentially sort of being drowned out by this flood of just NFT everything that I can in hopes of making money, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's nice to see a sort of collective that evolves, especially on Rarible, because I mean there's a difference between the stuff on OpenSea, but I don't know about you guys. You guys could tell me your thoughts since you spend a lot of time on Rarible. Um, but I felt that Rarible was a little bit more collectible oriented, right? Like 3D collectible and avatar oriented. Or how do you guys feel about Rarible now?
Mm. Well, I wanted to touch on something that you just shared,
Mm.
where you went up on OpenSea and then you're greeted with all this sort of art that some of it questionable, but I mean, art is art. It's probably possibly subjective, and there might be, I would say, an appreciator of that sort of art, but I think my mind goes towards curation, right? And
Mm.
how important curation is in the art
Mhm.
space, whether it's digital or real life or meet space.
Mm.
To me, at least curation is at least having or helping to actually have presenting arts or pieces of art that have somehow a much more, I would say, a clearer vision. Like let's say, for example, curation can look like
Mm.
a collection
Mm.
of certain things, that are, consistent in narrative, are being marketed towards, say, a specific consumer or an appreciator.
Mm.
Um, and so sometimes, in this sort of like wild west of NFTs, you see that there's all these disparate pieces of art that don't make sense by itself, but when actually put into a collection and curated by
Mm.
someone, you know, I would say like respected in the scene, it becomes something else. And so I think, yeah, there's value in curation, and I feel like the
Mm.
NFT space can actually benefit from more curation. And what more, uh, I would say it would be even be helpful if the curation is done by a collective or even a community, rallying together towards a specific aesthetic or a specific vibe.
Mm.
I feel like it becomes much more stronger in that way. And I think we've seen that in artist collectives in the NFT space, in like even like collector DAOs,
Mm.
like say, for example, um Pleaser DAO, or say Flamingo DAO, where they have a collection of NFTs, right? And when you look at their wallets and when you look at their collections, it may seem disparate, but if you actually zoom out, you can possibly see what this DAO cares for, or what it's
Mm.
supporting. And so
Mm.
um, I guess I feel like that is a wide design space, both for like creator collective, for creator DAOs, for artist DAOs, and also like the curation and how it helps uplift newcomers, emerging artists, and everything.
Yeah, that was great. And I also think like that idea of curation also opens up creativity,
Mm.
like which is kind of our aim with this. Like sometimes, if you have a theme, it's like people are gonna kind of like push themselves in a different way, or like I think I just feel so honored to have whenever I go through seeing the submissions and stuff, it's so cool to jump into their interpretation of what a digital creature of the metaverse or whatever theme we have, is and what it means to them. And like you saw a lot of the questions we asked in the forum, it kind of asked them to expand upon that. And for me, I love reading that. It's so cool, and it's such a cool like portal into the artist's mind and creative process.
I agree. It's funny because I used to be against curation when I first joined the space because again to those listening, I keep mentioning the fine art space and the fine art world in real life just as a comparison to the digital space because essentially as us artists now have this like chance to change how things function for the better, right? Because
Mhm.
um curation in the fine art world also has its hidden politics, right? The biggest example and the most recent example, and I would argue like the most egregious example of that, is Ai Weiwei's name essentially getting used by a museum in London, and then the moment they realized
Mm.
his work is might ruin some of their connections with China, they sent him a message saying, "Sorry, we don't want to use your work. It's too politically charged."
Mhm.
Right, and it's like it's funny because like that shit happens in the fine art world. People will try to use other artists big names, you know as even under the guise of curation, just to get to guarantee viewership and then just dump them, right? And so but as the space evolved, and then as you mentioned DAOs, and then as more art focused DAOs evolve in the space, it's becoming clear that curation is a much needed thing in the space, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at your NFT collection. I mean, you are already curating. It's like
Mm-hmm.
according to your taste,
mm,
according to like who are the artists that you support. You are doing curation, maybe on a personal level, but I feel like curators can be people who are very much like you, possibly
mm.
artists themselves, actually sharing their taste to everyone,
Yeah.
and presenting it and framing it in that way.
Oh, absolutely. And it's actually cool because now us as artists, we have the chance to be art collectors, like actual
Yes.
art
Yes.
collectors, instead of the dudes who work for art collectors. It's it's actually funny because I watched this like video of this dude who's like this famous art collector, and he's just talking about all these pieces he's owned, and then he goes into this gallery, and he's been talking to this artist for a year, right, to get this painting, and then he goes to the gallery, and then the camera cuts out because they can't show the inner negotiations, right? But then you like they have this voiceover, and this dude is like, "Yeah, we can't give it to you at this price. We can't really give it to you at this price at all." And then he comes out, and the video's like, "Yeah, I got it at a discount." And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, the artist doesn't fucking know that his work just got sold at a discount. He found out through his BBC documentary, you know.
Mm.
So, like, imagine like watching a BBC documentary and be like, "Hold up, did my gallery just fucking undersell my shit to this dude on national television?" And then
Yeah.
right, and so instead of us, the artist, going to the gallery and then being, oh, the gallery saying this is our art collection, right? Even the artists themselves now have the chance to be like, this is the art that I've created, and this is the art that I've collected, even if you want to purchase that, right? And part of me believes that it also creates like a better ecosystem because you trust an artist's taste better than a collector's taste, sort of, like,
Mm.
at least personally. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but at least when I NFT hunt, I go through other artists' collections like crazy. You
Oh,
know.
it's cool. We were
Yeah.
talking about that in the interview with Meta guys. How like your wallet is kind of like the portal into your history in the
Mhm.
space, and how his one of his goals. Remember that rabbit hole idea he had? that he talked about, Mark. How he
Hmm.
wants to create this like portal where you fall into this rabbit hole of your history of all your art floating by you.
That would
Yes.
that would be
That'd be so
wild.
cool.
Yes.
And you could
Yes.
go to other people's portals. You're like, oh, there's Mark's portal. I have to go over there. And you dive into their portal. You could just
That's
I
actually
mean, we're seeing the version one of this one, like through our wallets, right? Like
it's
our
true.
crypto wallets are already acting as a sort of a portable identity.
It's
You
true.
know, it sees all the transactions that we have. You know, whether it's art related or you're just aping on whatever coin. Um, it's a little snapshot of your identity, and I think what Natalie or Fractilians is saying that there can possibly be a way in the future where we plug in our wallets and we gain access to this like world where your all your art that you've collected, say over the years, over the past few months, are then sort of like presented to you in a metaverse way. And so and you could actually access that yourself, or you could actually share that with your other with other people. And to me, I think that's really very exciting. I think right now we're just like building the blocks towards something like that.
Oh,
yeah.
I agree with you 100%. It's
That's
I mean, like either Etherscan, right, is already like this thing of like providence that people use to like go back, and it's like, how old is my account? You know, like I don't know if you guys saw, like
Hmm.
Loop recently was like, show me your oldest Etherscan transaction, right? And so like even Etherscan transactions are becoming this thing to prove I'm part of the space. You know, like what's your oldest one? You know, and so
Hmm.
it, soon somebody's gonna do some kind of trippy visual thing where they just take the data from that and present it to you. Like you can choose like the filter. You're
yo,
like, I'm going into my past. I want
listen,
to
don't
view
get
it this way.
that would actually be cool, and I would be so sad to just see all the pieces that like I've let go over the time. Just be like, fuck, shit. I mean, like I already like don't like Etherscan that much because it shows me how much I spent on Ethereum gas fees,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'm like, it's like, it's like you're in the NFT space when you spent more on gas fees than your actual wallet in like currently in which is
Yes, sir.
For mistakes, I've made the mistake where like
oh
I told Mark this when I got my first Rari airdrop, and I'm like, I was so excited. I said, "Do you want to transfer?" I said, "Hell yeah!" And I just kept clicking yes, and then I realized I spent $300 in gas fees to transfer
oh
40 bucks. I was like, no.
oh yeah, it's I've had stories like this. My learning story that I realized I actually learned my fuck up like a year after, and it was I realized my fuck up like 2 months ago, and I was like, that's why. And so I had like 6,000 in Doge like 2 years ago, and
Wow.
Ooh.
I decided to send it to my MetaMask, not realizing it's two completely different blockchains.
Oh
That
shoot.
right, and then
Oh
for a
no.
whole year, I'm just sitting there like, did I get scammed? Did like fucking CoinSquare scam me out of my fucking Dogecoin? And then I realized one day I was like, nope, I'm a dumbass. I just sent it to an Ethereum wallet.
Oh
Oh
fuck.
my. There's some
Wait, is there a
random.
way to maybe take that back
Oh no,
or?
that's gone. The that transaction like probably got eaten up somewhere. It's done.
Ouch.
Oh, yo, it's to me it's
Oh.
like as I look at it and it's like honestly like to those listening, if you've invested in Top Shot before February of last year, like the gains and the lows we've seen is like nothing shakes me anymore. Like legitimately
Mhm.
nothing like no amount of losses like shakes me. It's because like again like the space moves at such a pace that I'm like, okay, cool. You just have to take it as like learning experiences, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just laugh at them now. I'm like, oh man. I hope I learn next
It's
time.
true.
I just, or I triple check everything. Everyone, even if they give me something and say this is it for sure, I'll like double, triple check. I'm like, can you just make sure you gave me the right thing? I
Yeah.
don't want to send you money and it's like, you
It's
know,
that's part of me is like now I just started sending people my ENS domain,
Yeah.
which is
That's
another
good.
right, and so that's another thing that's like I've noticed people been using to like especially artists to solidify themselves in the space is like register an ENS domain, because then it just we know who you are based on the .eth, and then like places like crypto voxels read your ENS domain, which is super nice.
Hmm. You, you know, I wanted to sort of go back to your Doge experience, right?
Mm.
When you think about it, well, well, let's not think about how much money it is right now,
I know it's a
but
lot.
you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of us in the space think of money a little differently,
Mm.
um,
Hmm.
in a way that it's a little kind of like I don't know what this is doing to us. You know, like say for example, you know, I have friends who are whales, you know,
Mm.
and would easily drop 2, 3, 4 ETH on a piece of art that they like, you know.
Mm.
And of course, that's a strong signal of value,
Mm.
but but I'm curious, like what's it like in their heads too? It's like, dude, 2 or 3 ETH is a good chunk of money, you
Well,
know. I can't, at least for me. I mean, I'm not that you know, I'm not ETH rich,
mm.
and so even putting, you know, 2 or 3 ETH on an art is there's so much tension in me before that happens.
I
So I wonder, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. Go
like
ahead.
no, I've noticed it too, and I think it's just like you have to work up to it. You know, like
Yeah,
I used to be wary
I
about
see
point
that.
one ETH spent, like 0.01 Ether spent until I got two BGANs, like bastard punks,
Mm-hmm.
and since then point anything below just point one Ether to me is now considered cheap, and to me it's like the biggest thing I look at it is like before, right? You could like before NFTs, you could argue why somebody would spend 5 million or like 20,000 on a painting because a painting gets dirty and it's something that deteriorates over time, right? Not everybody who invests in a $20,000 painting is gonna treat it in the same conditions as a museum, and I guarantee you, not everybody has the conservatorium that every museum has with their like chemicals and their like wet tables and you know I mean, like, as to those listening, if you ever get a chance to visit a museum's conservatorium, go visit it. You'll have like the weirdest mind fuck in your life. Like $3 million in value just sitting on the floor with like a cushion of fabric under it to protect it, and you're like, that's fucking $3 million. And then you turn around and this like um uh masters, like MFA student, right? Doing their masters is working on a 200,000 or like a $20,000 painting, and you're just like it blows your fucking mind. You're like, what the fuck?
Mm.
But you also realize you need like a whole warehouse with like premium air conditioning, premium like air control, right? Just to fucking save the paintings, and then NFTs come along and there is this indestructible thing, right? And so
Mm.
I sort of like understand it when like a thousand ETH gets spent. That's like, okay, that's like insane life changing money, that could be spent on other stuff and invested in other stuff. But it's also like the way I look at it, it's just like the life cycle of things.
Mm.
And you also like if you're not like like I'm not ether rich either, and so like some of the bids that I see are like blow my fucking mind. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, the beauty of that too is like what is done with the money once it transfers to the artist and
Exactly.
how that money lives on. And a lot of them, I love seeing a lot of them create these projects for the community, or they, it's also supporting that creative lifestyle. I just think that's wonderful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money, I know, but still, it's like
It's
I'm always like rooting for any artist. Like,
I
hell
mean,
yeah.
like yeah, as much as like it's like I mean, I'm the first artist. I don't know if I'm the first. Like I would be like the first one to tell myself that like I can be envious, right, of people's sales. Like of course everybody gets envious of sales. Like people selling 20,000 pieces of art. Like that's if you put
That's
twenty
awesome.
thousand dollars just to like rent space alone, right? You have a studio space for like 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
that's life
Yeah.
changing for the artist. And
Exactly. And so,
Totally.
it's all,
mhm.
You know, I think to sort of like touch on what Natalie said about, you know, seeing other artists reinvest
Mhm.
that money from their sale onto their own communities is such a beautiful thing,
Exactly.
you know, to see. It's like, and I think I think as artists, as creators, we feel that we feel a sense of I guess a connection with other fellow artists, because you know how it feels like,
Yeah.
to be starting out. You know how it feels like to be emerging. And to I guess touch on what you said earlier about these big sales. The thing that excites me, or the development that excites me in the NFT space, is the concept of party bids, where a group of
Yes,
people
That's a
yes, I
thing?
love
actually, like,
that.
yeah, that's a
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I
Whoa.
mean,
that's a
go
thing.
to I think it's app.partybid.com, and
I
then
party bid on some punk. I don't know what happened with that.
yeah, yeah. So I think a group of people, like, started a party bid where they all pool their resources. You could actually stake whatever ETH
Oh wow.
that you want, and then if it hits the reserve price, it would then start bidding with the other people. And so
Hmm.
I think that's really cool, because it makes collecting NFTs accessible to people who don't have that much funds. As long as you actually become part of a party bid,
Mm.
you are a part owner of something, say
It's
a CryptoPunk. Yeah.
I agree with you, and also like just I mean I don't know if you guys heard, but it's like the evolution of community vaults and
Mm-hmm.
community driven art vaults, right? To me that's like the coolest thing, that you as a community can like submit a poll, or at least I hope it evolves, because so far at least some of the community vaults I've seen is like I mean the biggest examples is the whale art vault, right? That's an insane vault. That's just
Yes.
it's fucking it's loaded in NBA Top Shot. I think it might like they're in NBA. They're in everywhere, right? And then the other vault that I'm familiar with, just because I got to be in it, is the Metakey art vault, right? And
Ooh, nice.
that yeah, when that happened, I was like, oh shit. And so, but the whole concept to me of an art vault is like, as communities evolve, right? I hope to see like polls start to open up, right, where we get to vote for the artists and then people buy from that artist, right? So it just feels like a community driven purchase, you know? Just like the same thing where it's like people submit their Rari tokens for DAOs, right? On Discord,
Yeah.
or for example, like I don't know how it's run, but like on Discord you can run polls, right? And people just submit on the artist to be entered into the community art vault, right? And then that alone just holds so much power and just uplifting people, it's wild because
That's
you
how we
Thousand
were
percent.
planning on doing. Isn't that? I think that's what we're gonna do for
oh
one, right? One of the artists, we're gonna do a community vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I understood that our plan was. I don't know, right, Mark?
Yes. Yes. You're right. You're right. Mm-hmm.
But I don't. I
listeners,
think.
are you hearing this? Community vote. Apply. Send your art. It's a competition. Sorry, no, I have to do it. It's my.
I think we still have to. I wasn't sure exactly of how we were logistically gonna do it, but that makes sense. I mean, what, right,
It's
Mark, or however.
like, have you noticed like that's the thing about the space? It's like you think of ideas and you start executing them, and then you realize, oh shit, how?
Yeah.
it's
Sounds like
That
my
is
life.
true.
it's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was. Sorry, I'm just rambling. No, it made me think of that document I read that you just did for people who are wanting to get into the DAO, and how you outlined, like, when you get into the space, it's just like things are so fast, so changing, and if you have an idea, like, do it. Like, you have to take action. You have to
it's
Mm-hmm.
true.
create. You have to, like, even if it's like, that's kind of why we're, how Creator Collective pretty much happened. And we had, again, Eric, a lot of influence, but still it was just like, okay, let's do it and see what happens. And you just never know, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
You gotta do it, or else you really never know.
exactly, and also, like, I mean, I sort of believe it and I sort of don't. Like the people that say we're early, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't feel like we're early when all the sales start to go to like projects, and like insane
Mm.
sales start to go to these projects. But also, it's true, right? Like, how many people do we know in real life actually own an NFT? Like zero, like barely any.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I don't
before
know anybody
yeah, like before
outside the world in real life.
before I became like a full time artist, dude, my coworkers were like, "Yo, Anubis, shut the fuck up about NFTs." Yo, Anubis, if I hear Top Shot one more fucking time, and it's like,
Uh,
And it's like, I mean, like I felt bad for them because like I worked in restaurants, right? So it's like 8 hours of just kitchen hell and just my ass just talking about, like that Kawhi dunk, could have, or like that LeBron dunk, yo, man, it's going for $200 right now, bro. And they're like, yo, shut the fuck up. And
Yeah.
so it's, I like, part of me is like, you anybody that has an idea now, it's like in the same sense where it's like, part of me wholeheartedly believes that if you buy an NFT right now, right? If you buy like 10 of them, one of them within a year is going to be profitable. Just to
Hmm.
me, that's like how the space is going. Just because like people look at years, like when shit was minted, and so part of me feels the same thing is going to translate to collectives and museums and all that, right? Because
Hmm.
like if you look at the Mocha, they have their token already launched and everything, and which
Yeah.
I think that to me like the whole Mocha is also cool because I can't I await the clash of copyright issues when the Mocha comes in contact with the
Yeah.
actual Mocha in real life. Because
Hmm.
to those who listening, Mocha in real life is the Museum of Contemporary Art, and so we have the Museum of Crypto Art in the space, and I actually look forward to it because part of me feels that the Museum of Crypto Art is gonna succeed just
Hmm.
based on how the space is going, and in turn also collectives like the Creator Collective are also going to succeed just because there aren't a lot of collectives being built right now, you know.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's like a few funds on Zora, which is insane to see, right? Some being run by Vane, but other than that, you're like I think you guys are the first collective to launch on Rarible. Um, are
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah. Well, are we? I'm pretty sure there are other collectives out there, but uh, we are possibly the first one supported by
By Rarible.
Rarible.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because there's been like other, there's been other proposals like art residencies and and art. Yeah, it's definitely and discords. I think are collectives in and of themselves. Like the women of crypto art. There's so many cool. I think in a way, different kinds of collectives. But I think yes, like you're saying, Mark, we're
Hmm.
funded by this. But yeah, I think there's definitely other stuff out there. But yeah,
I mean, still, like getting the Rarible support is insane. That's the whole website
Yeah.
support. I mean, it's also wild just to see what Rarible is doing now. I was telling Fractilians in our last talk, like when I joined the space, you had to verify yourself through their Discord. you know.
Mm, yeah. 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 I think I think better user experiences are being designed for that. I think currently most of Web3, is still a little janky. You have to connect your wallet here,
Yeah.
and in the future, it would be much more seamless, right? Where your crypto wallet becomes your portable identity, and whatever websites you visit, it shows you, or it runs whatever applications you need. Currently, we're still at stage one,
Mm.
where it's just like, oh, it's janky, connect here and then connect here, and then you press this button, and it's like
Yeah.
that should
yeah,
be obscured already from the users. That should be like automatic, but we're not there yet.
I
So
and I mean, it's actually perfect because I remember both of us butchered the word
yeah.
inter
Interoperability.
that
interoperability.
there
Interoperability.
you okay.
Yes,
All
I
right.
was gonna say. Here, our word of the day comes back.
Yeah, interoper. I'm not gonna. I've tried and I've tried and I can't. It's like one of those tongue twisters, It's like holy interpro. Oh god, yeah, I know we're not. I'm not gonna try to say it, but that's one thing that I'm also excited for in the space is just like how everything is gonna connect seamlessly into each other. I mean,
Hmm.
um, funny enough, I don't know if I don't know if you've noticed this, right? But it's like it seems that like science fiction sort of inspires technological development, right?
Oh,
Oh,
a
for
thousand
sure.
percent.
Oh
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
speaking
like
of trash.
we had like iPads and stuff and like these sort of like weird Wi-Fi phones in Star Trek, right? And then I mean I use that example because that's the Discovery Channel episode that I saw as a child. But now
If you
it's
read
well, go ahead if you
no, I was
read.
gonna say like I'm like Neil Stephenson two books, Snow Crash and Diamond Age are all iPads. Like I remember reading Diamond Age. It's all about
Diamond
of an iPad. It's
Age.
amazing. Yeah, it's a great book. I mean, those two, and then the metaverse was coined in his book.
Oh wow.
Snowcrash,
Okay.
another
Mm.
all-time favorite. And it's just cyberpunk. Both of them are just like, if you want a fun, fast read
I
that's just
will.
basically talks about what we're experiencing now.
And
Yeah, Neil
and
Stephenson's always ahead of his,
I'll check
always
out.
talking about something.
I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of science fiction, and it's like, to me it's
So,
like, you know how like in movies, right? I mean, to me I think Tony Stark is the one that popularized it, like the whole like AR, like seamless, like I'm gonna move this into my screen, out of my screen into the, like this
Mm.
thing. And funny enough, I forget the name of the person I follow on Twitter, but somebody's actually working on like the seamless drag and drop asset thing into their metaverse, and I saw
Mm-hmm.
that and I was like, okay, cool. Add VR, add like what is it, haptic feedback, and we're living in the world. Like
Yeah. Maybe this is a good opportunity for us to maybe share what the future of NFTs might look like.
yeah,
mm,
especially
Yeah.
especially since you guys also, to those listening, VR and AR works, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Fractilians, you had sent me the Anubis work.
yeah.
That was cool. Um,
And I think we're going to get a lot of AR, VR artists. I've been like following a lot of them. A lot of them are working on it because they still have till the 30th, and we've gotten some, and even their friends are like, hey, you're fast working. They're still working on their pieces. But it's, yeah, it's just really cool. And it's cool because a lot of them are also posting how like, oh, I hadn't played with this tool before and I got into it. And this is my current iteration of what I'm submitting. So
well,
yeah, it's,
I actually, so I wanted to ask you guys about this, since I'm unfamiliar with AR and VR, and like at least the sculpting form of that, right? And so if somebody, to those listening, right, who might not have an Oculus, or not, who might not have a VR uh setup, and who can't get one now, is there a way for them to like submit works that are digitally sculpted to be, is there a way to like do and build VR and AR stuff without the use of like Oculus, or is this like fully like run on programs inside Oculus? Do you guys, I don't know. Do you guys know?
one of my friends, I haven't played with this, one of my friends said there is an app for iPad of Gravity Sketch. So
Oh,
she's
okay.
sculpting her, but I haven't played with that. But we also have two categories in this contest, one for VR sculpted and one for non-VR sculpted.
Okay.
So we kind of took that into account. But I don't know, Mark, maybe you know more because that's what she has said, and I haven't downloaded it or played with it. But I bet you there's people in the audience who know of
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's a way. But
Yeah, I mean, in a general sense, if you step back a little bit, AR stands for augmented
Mm.
reality. I think a good example of that is that Pokemon Go game where it sort of like
mhm,
reads reality, and through your camera you could actually view
Mm.
the object, and you could interact with it. Um, I, I guess VR is completely a virtual world.
Mm.
You're completely immersed into something. So, I think in with our interview with Meta guys, he works inside VR using whatever software that he uses, and then also, the headset and everything. And so, I think that's one, I guess, comparison, AR versus VR.
Mm.
Although I feel like, well, for me personally, I feel like both could be in parallel with each other, but I
Mm.
I can possibly see a future where, AR actually expands how we view the world.
Oh,
It,
absolutely, absolutely.
it's like once we actually have like glasses that probably support augmented reality, um,
Hey, we mentioned
like
that
it'll be
last time.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
and
yeah.
we I mean uh I just sent a link in the chat, and it's this app that called Basing that essentially allows you just to, so like, directly plug in any link to an NFT that you see, and it produces it through Google's AR, just an AR version of it that you can just take pictures of, right?
Oh,
And
cool.
so, and it's free to use. Anybody can use it, which is wild. But like, I'm more asking, like, is there a way for like an artist to submit an artwork, or like to sculpt something for VR and AR without the use of an Oculus?
That's a good question. Do you know the answer in that? I'm not
Well,
too
that's
familiar.
I'm not. Well, I know there's other software like
Mm,
TickBrush, and there's the ones that he. But I that the only thing I've heard of was my friend mentioned there is
just
something like for Gravity Sketch
okay,
for
Gravity Sketch
your
on the iPad.
iPad. That's
Okay.
kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like, the whole thing that Metageist was about. Like, he creates fully metaverse native stuff with metaverse, like with the AR, with the VR tools. You're
Mm,
in the space completely, and I think it's probably a very different type of creation when you're in
of course. Oh,
completely VR
absolutely.
versus like on a flat iPad. But I don't know. Like, so I definitely was planning to download that and play with it and see
Well,
if it works on. I have a couple iPads somewhere here.
nice.
I don't
Please
know.
let me know if it works, cause that would be cool to
Yeah,
know. And
I'll
to
share it in the forum if I find it.
please do. And to those,
Y-
well,
mm-hmm.
I
Go
was
ahead.
I was just gonna say to those listening, Fractilians did mention that there's two stages. So if you were unable to participate in the whole like AR VR part due to like the lack of an Oculus, for example, or like lack of equipment, there's another stage where you can submit works that are different. So
You can
Fuck
actually
yeah.
submit them both now, and they're both
oh,
just two
okay.
categories, both by August 30th. So one is like whatever your interpretation of digital creatures of the metaverse is, and again, you can use whatever tools. If you paint it and take a picture of it, upload it, that works. If you create it in After Effects, Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever tool, it doesn't matter. However you create it, we just have the two categories available when you're on your Google form.
Okay.
You just select. So then that way we know,
Where
and
to?
then also, yeah,
You know
Nice.
what's really cool about VR art, or at
Mm.
least from what I actually, I guess sensed from Meta Guys, is that this might be useful for people who like to create art using their hands, like say
Oh,
a painter.
absolutely.
yes,
It's like you could actually create strokes,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
onto a space that is three-dimensional, for me it blows my mind. That's fucking amazing.
It's I it
Yeah.
the like my favorite thing, and I told Fractilians is like all the bounds, like and all the limitations we have in reality are just removed in
Mm-hmm.
VR sculpting. You know.
And it's infinitely
Yes.
resolution. Remember how he
Ab-
zoomed in and
exa-
zoomed? He's like, and eventually he's going to create giant worlds within one sketch.
and so like it, I mean it just it blows my mind, right, to think about like when you're able to overlay that sort of resolution and that sort of detail on top of real world, right, when VR starts to
Mm-hmm.
fully merge with the AR. Because I mean, like, there's nothing like you can use the same models in AR and VR, right? And so there's nothing stopping you from overlaying, you know, a hazy blue sky from the VR world on top of your well, hazy blue.
Yeah.
That's normal sky. Hold on, I need to think of a weird color. Hazy, like yellow sky.
Where do you live? Yellow sky.
It's, oh, I was gonna. Here, I'll just say I live on Dune. Have you guys read the Dune books by any
Oh
chance?
yeah.
Oh yeah, they're
Hey,
great.
hey. So, I
Classic.
it's a classic book. I mean, hold on. Do you think this is a little bit of off topic? But do you think we're gonna invent those silk suits that keep our water? And
Oh
I
yeah.
really do. I really do. I mean, to those listening, I'm Egyptians. I'm from the desert, so I mean, it only makes sense to
Mm,
me. It barely rains in Egypt, so.
Yeah,
yeah.
it makes sense here. Like, my boyfriend's native, and in that culture, like, I swear to God, he could run 20 miles and take a sip of Coke. That's it.
What?
Built different. That's they're runners. Some people are just like, some like, at least that community is like, there's amazing runners who go 50, 100 miles, and that's how they used to communicate. The runners. They were known as runners.
That's
Yeah.
So
wild.
yeah, and imagine if they had that. Oh my God, they go for
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
anything.
That's insane. I mean, there could be like a dystopian view of it too, right? Like, what if
Yeah.
our climate collapses and then everything is just so hot? Then maybe we need those silk suits
It's
to
true.
actually cool us down. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can actually, I guess, pull ourselves in a much more sustainable direction. But But yeah, I hope that we don't get there. That we have to actually create
Yes.
suits so that we could survive.
And drink water. I
Well,
Yeah.
mean,
we could create suits to make it like less of a climactic impact. You know, if you
it's
think about it, you have suits to like you need less clothes, less anything, less water, less consumption.
it's true,
That would be
and also, if I'm being honest, I just want spice to be real.
actually there is spice like
It's true.
you have to just get it from a good source.
Oh, it's actually cool that you guys know Dune. I mean, to those listening, Dune is a science fiction series. Me personally, I only like the Frank Herbert series, and I think his son destroys the books after that, and so I refuse to read them.
I didn't even know his sons did anything.
Good. Don't
Okay,
you
okay,
do not know that fact? His son has written nothing at all. No, I'm just,
okay.
it's just
Don't go
like
there.
I mean, like it's like one of those things where like the kid. I mean, like I think he just wanted to carry on his father's work, but then like 20 books is too much, bro. You know,
Yeah.
like evolving like Paul's story where it's like no longer like I don't even remember. So I recommend reading the first 6 books in the series. Um, they're very. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I treat them as like they're my Lord of the Rings sort of thing because I never read Lord
Mhm.
of the Rings, but I treat it as if it's that Lord of the Rings type thing, and it's just it's heavy on like cultural themes, but also some of the themes that are happening and some of like the aesthetic depictions that are depicted in that book are making their way into the NFT space and making their way into like AR and VR like sculptures and also like filters, which is cool to see. You know, it
Well, you
just
definitely have to read the Snow Crash and Diamond Age then. If you
okay.
like that, like the cultural influences, and I mean even the Decentraland guys. I saw the interviews of the co-founders, and they talk about that being,
Snow
their
Crash.
inspiration as well.
I have to add it to my list of books. Snow Crash. I have that. Diamond Age. I will. They are added to those
What
knowledge.
about?
Mm.
Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say to those listening, I like every book that gets mentioned. Sometimes I literally just alt tab and Google it real quick. But
I try
we
to like go to Amazon, buy it, and then that way I have it and I actually read it. Because if not, oh my god,
but
it's hard.
uh, what about you, Mark? Do you have any other
Mm.
book recommendations? I mean,
Book book
I'm
recommendations.
I mean like I've I don't know about you.
Sci-fi?
Well, any book really. I mean, personally, like
Any book?
I've found like inspiration, artistic inspiration in almost
Hmm.
either in
Mm.
almost like all non-fiction or fiction books that I've gone out of my way to willingly read and not be forced to read.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
I,
so
I
yeah.
think from an artist perspective, one book that really I would recommend to everyone would be The Artist's Way.
The
Um,
Mm.
Artist's Way.
Oh
it's
yeah,
a
I
nonfiction book. It's a little
great
more
book.
spiritual. And but I think if you're someone who feels very much, because I feel like, or maybe subscribe to the notion that art is tied to your spirituality. I think
Mm.
that book can be very helpful. And then there's another one, The War on Art, I believe, and
Mm.
that's another nonfiction book, which sort of gives a lot of like pointers on how to sort of overcome resistance. Resistance sometimes could be self doubt,
Mm.
people putting you down, stuff like that. So I think as if you're an artist, I think those are, I guess, my highly recommended reads. um I guess for technology and future like sci-fi stuff, um oh man, there's so many. I mean, I certainly am a fan of the Black Mirror series, even
Okay.
though a lot of it can be like dystopian. um I think it gives us a lot of like feedback
Mm.
to on how to course correct and maybe really think about what kinds of technologies are we building, and what are
Mm.
the incentives and probably behaviors that we don't foresee,
Mm.
happening. So I think that's really also very exciting. And I think I would also recommend Vitalik's blog if you are someone who likes to think about blockchains and economics and possibly the future of our space.
Mm.
It's really very helpful to hear it from the horse's mouth.
It's
So yeah.
That's cool. That's good to know. I like Vitalik. He just looks so weird sometimes in his pictures. You know, it's
He's
like
an alien. He's
I,
like an
I
alien
I believe
creature.
it. I believe it. It's like I look at him and I'm like, I mean, like men's, like that neck, bruv. Like, do you see that Miami picture? Like, oh my god, it freaked me the hell. I mean, like, I also like love the crypto Twitter memes. It's
Yeah.
that's one thing about the
Well,
space. The memes that get put out day to day. It's
it's fun. Well,
Yeah.
I have one last book. I wonder if you guys have one of my favorites that I always forget. I don't know
mm.
why, but Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. Have you guys
Oh,
read
Yes.
it?
okay.
Yes.
That's we're
Oh,
getting
good.
Brave New World.
Oh,
I've
he's that's a brilliant, right, Mark?
who
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
who would have known that depriving humanity of oxygen would be able to allow us to genetically modify ourselves? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's Brave New World is one of. I mean, I'm a big fan of the whole dystopian fiction series. It's
Hmm.
I think I jokingly tweeted that out that I said I think 1984 and Animal Farm and all these books were like turn are slowly turning out to be a guide
Hmm.
and not a
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
totally. That's why Brave New World. I'm like, oh my god, this is, and they're actually, aren't they? In one point, they were right near this place where I used to live near Cochiti. So there was a lot of parts of that story where I was like, this is too close to home.
It's yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I mean, I recommend reading dystopian fiction to anybody. It's a great genre. To those listening,
Totally.
I mean, we probably sound like grade 9 teachers, English teachers right now, but go read 1984.
Mark, now you know what happened to us on Friday.
Yeah,
So today
that's
we have a quiz, and
Yeah.
on Friday we're like, okay, let's get. We're like, okay, sorry, I'll shut up now.
no, but it's
No, this is fun. This is fun.
and it's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's great also because man, like so many project like people who run projects hide behind an avatar and a Twitter profile, and that's it. And so it's I mean,
Mm.
I guarantee you, like you know, there would be artists that would listen to this who would be on the fence, and then when they listen to you guys talk, that would make them feel easier on just submitting their work, right? Because they know at least what you guys like, and and all that, instead of like a tweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I
It's
think.
weird.
Yeah. I think I appreciate this space because it allows for both, Fractilians and I to really just expand on like what our motivations are and what our inspirations are, and of course there's a lot of like maybe uh, distrust amongst, I guess, certain collectives, but then once you find out that these are artists like myself,
Mm.
they care about the art form, and so my hope is that that becomes like encouraging to people, um, to join our project, to join our community, um, and so yeah, I mean, last thing I
Mm.
wanted to sort of like touch on sci-fi. And
Mm.
you were mentioning how you recommend dystopian sci-fi. I feel like story and narrative is really important for
Mm.
us as people.
Yes.
That's how we gain meaning. That's how we
It's
Yeah.
gain sort of like narrative. That's how we point our lives towards,
it's
dude.
true.
So even with you mentioning Dune and Fractilian saying Brave New World, even though there are parts of it that feel very dystopian, very somber, very
Mm.
dark, you could also see a peek on like what the future can be, you know,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
if done correctly, and so I think, I guess maybe just to double click on what you just said, Anubis,
Mm.
is that dystopian sci-fi is really very helpful for our artists, especially artists who are digital and who are very much like working with technology, because it makes you think. It makes you like, okay, I'm participating in this. Why? You
Mm.
know,
Oh,
what's the
absolutely.
future that I want to see? So
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I mean, uh, part of me also like I think like understanding dystopian fiction and all that also gives you like a stylistic skill set that you
Mm.
otherwise wouldn't have, right? Because I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the work of Shepard Fairey, um,
Yes.
right? But his work sometimes his Obey series, right, is very dystopian, and
Mm.
you know, sort of now when you look at it, there is like this dystopian art. I mean, like, or I would argue like dystopian art is sort of like propaganda art, right? But there's this like look that's evolved to like propaganda and this dystopian world building, right? That now artists can utilize. That's very recognizable by the viewer, right? I mean, like anybody who's like I mean I imagine you guys have seen the image of Big Brother, right? That's been unused on the books of 1984, right? But you show that image to
Mm-hmm.
anybody and they recognize immediately, they know what that is, right?
Yep.
And so that sort of style too is also very beneficial as like another thing to add to your arsenal as an artist, especially if you're commenting on like modern times, you know, because it's
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah.
it's a way to be it's another, again, like it's another tool in the toolbox, like Fractilian said last time also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Fahrenheit 451, another amazing book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys read that one?
I my English teachers were like, fuck that book, read Orwell, it's better, and I was like, I agree.
Uh,
I,
I
I
liked it as a kid. I don't know why I liked Radbury.
it's
He's a good character.
to me like I hold Orwell to like an insanely high standard. I don't know why, but I think it's just because like out of all the like Brave New World is like is dystopian, right? But it's so scientific that you can sort of be you can sort of remove yourself from the shoes of like the main character, right? And then 404 I forget, 451, is it? 451?
Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fahrenheit
Fahrenheit.
is I when I read it, I read part of it and then I was like, okay, it's but then Orwell just describes his world so realistically that I could just see it happening, you know, like him describing like Big Brother like having televisions or like stuff that spy on you in your apartment. I mean, that's already been established by every country's secret force since like the 70s, you know, like
I mean,
it's
it's already happening in our own. I mean, in real life, like our
it's true.
Amazon Alexas, our Google
It's true.
assistants.
I mean,
It's tracking us. It is
Mhm.
listening to us.
it's
I mean,
Scary part. I don't want him to listen.
yeah.
I mean, I yeah, you just made me look at my Google Home and Alexa, and I'm like, fuck, I should go smash him right now. But I don't want to look like Alex Jones with a tinfoil hat on outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, it, yeah, no, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
we'll go ahead.
Yo, guys, I need to hop off. I need to be like on another call.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
But I really enjoyed this conversation.
I'm
And
so glad you could join us, Mark.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
this
so
was
fun.
great. This
This
was
so
great.
fun. Yeah, I would love to do this again sometime.
Yo, hell yeah.
Yeah,
But,
thank you for having us on, Anubis. It's
yeah.
so much fun.
Yo.
Yeah, thank you, Anubis. I really appreciate the conversations and all the questions and all that stuff. And shout outs to your to people tuning in.
It's
Yeah.
it was a great um it was great having you on, Mark. It's you know how to explain stuff to us that I did not know. Because to me, I honestly I was like, what the fuck is a DAO? Like I get it, but it's like this term.
I could explain it, but you just said it so clearly.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful. I already
um,
knew Mark Brain. I need Mark Brain.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And
Appreciate you
Well,
all.
yes.
and
Okay.
we'll definitely have you on in the future. Fractilians, are you staying or are you gonna go as well?
I can stay for a couple more minutes,
Sure.
and
I
then
mean,
yeah, I have.
Awesome.
All right.
Peace, guys.
Okay.
have a good
Bye.
one.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye. No, I just wanted to say thanks to the Metakey community for supporting your show. It's great that you get to do this, and for all of us to get to tune into your show and learn from all the other artists. There's so much. I mean, for me, it's like just like what he was talking about, how story and narrative gives us meaning.
Mm.
It's definitely wonderful to listen to other people, because you get to relate to their story and be like, oh, or it just gives you inspiration, or it just gives you guidance in ways that you never thought, so
It's true.
thank
and-
you for what
yeah.
you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you guys for the collective and the competition too. It's great to see somebody try and to give artists like a leg to stand on. It's the support, especially in the times of 10,000 PFP projects that get launched every day. It's
I've
actually
seen a lot of them. It's interesting. I was
It-
like, I again, since I'm so new, I don't know if that's the norm or not.
it's sort of like it wasn't the norm when back a year ago. It started becoming the norm the moment punks moved up from their like 5 Ether price floor. The moment that happened and people realized punks were essentially a valuable fucking thing,
Mm.
they were like, okay, time for derivatives. And then after that, when people called derivatives out, they were like,
Mm.
okay, well, I'm just gonna start my next 10. I'm gonna start the next, 10K PFP project that's gonna outdo the crypto punks. And then here we are, like 8 months later, with like probably more PFP projects than there are people in the world now. it's and it's like it's actually crazy because some of them like the whole idea of punks, right, was they were given out for free in workshops about Ethereum blockchain, right? So no, originally like the first holders of punks never paid anything for them,
Oh
and
wow.
so one thing that's been evolving in the space is like these projects, and one thing that I like is they'll launch at a really cheap price, right? Point 0.1 ether, sorry, 0.01 ETH or
Yeah,
0.001.
and that makes it so people can, like me, can access it. If not, it's
Yeah,
like when it launches at 2 ETH or something, you're like, ah,
exactly. And then
no, that's not gonna work for me.
now comes projects like they're like, yeah, here, point 0.2 ETH, point 0.1 ETH. And like I get it sort of like for art blocks and like generative works, but it's like a PFP project like on Cyber demanding like 2 ether or like 1 ether. Sorry, not on Cyber. Cuz like there's this new project that launched this morning or yesterday night that a bunch of people are like buying into, and I was like, I clicked on their, hold on, I'm going to find it right now. I clicked on their OpenSea cuz it looks nice. It looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on one force, but then immediately, like when I went to their OpenSea, their shit was just like way too expensive. I was like, what the hell? So all right, only one. Oh, only one. Am I? I realized yesterday that I can't pronounce words at all. I was like on the stream. I was like there was this. I think like somebody creates, and I read it as creatas, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh, that's a good word though.
I,
Courageous.
No, but it's like, yeah, but it was just creates. Like he literally just like put the word creates after his name, and for like 20 minutes straight, I was like, yeah, create us. Until I realized, I was like, oh shit. And so like this project launched. Let's see. Oh, well, you don't see the. I don't know. Okay. Well, never mind. But it's
Okay,
like,
well, put it in there later so I can see it.
well, so it's Oni Force, One Force. Like when I checked it this morning, all the prices were either like point 0.5 ETH or already above an ETH, and I was just like,
Wow.
holy fuck, like, why?
Yeah, floor price is 2.7 already.
Yeah, and they got minted 5 days ago.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well, I guess it's marketing at that point, you know? Like,
it's true. Hold on, I'm gonna go to their website real quick. I am determined. Wait, hold on. Verity. They don't say anything about their price though. Yeah,
on
no.
OpenSea it has the prices of like 2.5 and wow.
Yeah, so
Well,
it's like projects like that launch daily, and then you go like, okay, I have the why this doesn't make any sense, and so it makes me excited for what you guys are doing because artist needs like some form of support against like these projects that just fucking make a million in a day, you know?
or maybe, these projects, if they worked with, I mean, I know some of them, like,
Oh yeah,
I've seen that work with more artists and but yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, that's where you can get sucked down the vortex of the rabbit hole of like what people are doing. Now this one is a 7777, not 10,000,
oh
and
yeah.
this one, this one is like this, and but
There's
I mean, I think it's, for me, it's just interesting study on human behavior and and FOMO, and even my
it's
own. Like,
very
I don't
true.
really know what I'm doing. Like, I've invested in some things because, oh, that looks cool, and then the only thing I've invested in that I spent more money than but I actually really love the project is actually the Metakey project. I really think what they're doing is really cool. So that's why I have the 2 keys, and I'm excited for their fourth. But they work on it.
Yeah,
They don't just drop shit to drop shit. They develop, they're the project management behind it, and their why they're doing it is,
and
is awesome, and all the what they give back to the community is phenomenal. So
you hear that, listeners? What?
no, that's how I see it. And I'm
What?
So I love listening to all their, they do such great content
Yo,
too,
Ma-
personally. So I like to learn from projects that I think are doing it right.
it's yeah, and like Maddie. I mean, to those listening, right? And I
Oh,
don't
he's
know.
great.
Do you watch any like crypto YouTube videos at all?
I watch a bunch of people. Like he was actually the first person when I went to look anything up. He was the first person I found.
And so
And I thought was like he was great. I was like, this guy, I like what he's doing.
it,
And so right away,
yeah, because like I like when I stumbled upon his channel, I was like, okay, this man actually cares about the space.
yeah,
Because like
exactly.
to those listening, if you don't know, if you go like in anything close to crypto YouTube, right, you'll see some dude with his mouth open, looking all shocked, right? That's the traditional thumbnail, and then some name of some shitcoin or some cryptocurrency, and then either going up, down, or like fucking destroyed. You know,
Yeah.
that's every fucking crypto YouTube ever.
I
And
like Coin Bureau too. Have you seen them? He's
coin
awesome.
who?
Coin Bureau.
Coin
He's a
Bureau.
British. His stuff's awesome.
I'm gonna
So
check
I
him
like DCL blogger and Coin. I believe it's Coin Bureau. Let me see. Forget what his name is. No, but he's excellent. Like he doesn't have ads on there.
No,
He's
no, I'm just laughing because his thumbnails are just are just what I described. Like the one I'm looking at, he's just like looking all shocked, and Bitcoin is in the background.
no, but he's actually really good. I know he does have funny, but he's a really funny Brit, but he's also super informed and they do a lot of research and
Oh,
compared to all the other ones. That's
oh,
just thumbnail.
no,
But
no,
yeah, you
yeah.
wouldn't think that from this, but they're funny, but it's a good, that's what people are gonna click on. And he does have funny stuff, but if you watch him, he's very knowledgeable.
Oh, sorry. So did Mark think it's a full on live stream?
I don't think so.
I think because he's
No.
asking about the stream.
Oh. I don't I didn't.
No, I think he just thought it's a live stream. I'll just tell him after. It's
Oh, okay. Cool.
uh.
Well, I do also have to go back to my regular job too. Back to work.
Yeah, no,
I'll
it's
get back into the crypto world after work and never stop.
yeah, it's this space, this
Oh
space.
god.
Just at
It's
some
fun to
point.
know. Oh, go ahead,
No,
sorry.
I was gonna say at some point you're just gonna find yourself like going to bed and just thinking, okay, I 5 more hours and then I wake up to crypto stuff again, and it's like, I mean, I found myself like I sleep in a waiting position sometimes because I'm just waiting to wake up. It's like all right, I gotta get back to this shit. Like oh fuck.
So that's why I make myself go outside and spend a couple hours at least on my bike or running. I need to be outside time, so I go crazy. So
That's you guys got. Yeah,
no, I never realized how silly his thumbnails are, and you would think they're ridiculous. No, but he's actually really. I personally
I mean, like
really admire.
yeah, no, I mean, I haven't seen any of his videos. I was making fun of the thumbnail. Like, if there is one YouTuber you should never listen to, it's fucking BitBoy Crypto. That guy you should never fucking listen to at all.
Oh, I've
Uh,
never heard of
yeah,
him.
no, that's a little rareable drama from like from like 6 or 7 months ago where he like some of his team like stole an artist's work off of Instagram and released it under his collectibles. And when he got called out for it, he just gave like the worst excuse ever. And
Oh,
he's just like a known as like a dude who does like pumps and dumps and stuff. So it's
oh
just
no.
yeah, it's that's like the example used. So like DCL, like yeah, to your point, like DCL blogger, like his YouTube channel is one of the most helpful things. But I'll let you go now. Um,
Okay, well, no, I know we could
before
keep going
yeah
all day.
before we enter another rabbit hole. Um, thank you
No,
for
but thank you for. Oh,
well
sorry. Go
yeah
ahead.
no I was gonna say thank you for coming on and um again if you get the chance also even though I told Mark thank you, tell him thank you again for coming on. Um, and
Sure.
and to those listening, go submit your art. Go submit your fucking art.
Yeah,
And
go watch the video and learn from the awesome Metageist and join us. Yeah, it should be fun. We're getting some really cool submissions and yeah,
mm,
join us.
all right, have a good one,
Okay,
everybody.
you too. Bye.